Welcome to Devotions on the Greek New Testament. In the last video on Mark 10:28, we discussed Jesus' call to follow me as a call into a new family. Well, in this video we will look at Mark 3:31-35, which expands on this kinship theme. Interestingly, when we read this text in Greek, there are multiple features that bring drama and emphasis to this pericope. Starting in verse 31-33, the passage reads, "Then his mother and his brothers came, and standing outside they sent to him and called him. A crowd was sitting around him, and they said to him, 'Your mother and your brothers are outside, asking for you.' And he replied, 'Who are my mother and my brothers?'" Now, let's read verses 34-35 in Greek, because there are some interesting details that are difficult to convey in an English translation. Verse 34 reads, "Ke perivlepsamenos tous peri avton kuklo, kathemenos legi." There are a couple things about this verse that are beyond beginning Greek, so I will just do a quick translation. "And looking around at those sitting around him in a circle, he said." The second word, perivlepsamenos, is an aorist middle participle. If you haven't learned participles yet, that's okay, but you can still see that distinctive trait of the aorist tense form, the sigma alpha. However, the sigma has combined with the p from perivlepo to create a psi, resulting in perivlepsamenos. But more importantly, I want you to notice that perivlepsamenos is a compound verb, meaning to look around. You may remember in section 6.2 of Koine Greek grammar that compound verbs can be used to create redundancy and add extra stress on the prepositional idea when intended by the prepositional phrase with the same preposition. Interestingly, the preposition peri that is embedded in the compound verb appears following perivlepsamenos. This redundant and repeated preposition adds emphasis to the narrative. But the redundancy does not stop there. The term kuko, translated in a circle, is also further highlighting the scene. Jesus looks around at those sitting around him in a circle. In this dramatic and redundant depiction, Jesus is surrounded by people and he is speaking to those surrounding him. So, what does Jesus say? "Ide e metermu, ke adelphumu, oskar an puiese to thelma tu theu, utos adelphos mu, ke adelphe, ke meter estin." So, Jesus' discourse could be translated, "Look, my mother and my brothers, for whoever does the will of God, this one is my brother and sister and mother." In verse 31, Jesus' biological family members are literally standing outside, but in verse 34 and 35, Jesus exclaims, "Ide," look. Jesus' family are those circling around him. In this moment, the people who are surrounding and listening to Jesus, those people are Jesus' family. Jesus' speech continues with similar emphasis by using the demonstrative pronoun utos, translated this one. Utos is not your ordinary pronoun. In section 12.5 of Koine Greek grammar, it says that demonstrative pronouns draw attention by pointing out certain persons or things. In other words, both ide and utos function as attention grabbers. You could read this moment as Jesus gesturing or pointing to those sitting around him. Although Jesus is being called to from people outside, he is speaking directly to those on the inside. Finally, I want you to notice one more thing. Notice the family members that are looking for Jesus, and whom Jesus says his family is. Verse 31 and 32 explains that Jesus' mother and brothers are looking for him. So Jesus could have simply responded, "This one is my mother and my brother." However, that is not what Jesus says. Jesus goes out of his way to include adelphe, sister. "This one is my brother, sister, and mother." Jesus' speech ensures that women have full inclusion in the kingdom of God. And what defines these people is not birth or marriage, but action. People are sisters, brothers, and mothers in the family of God when they do ta thelma tu theu, the will of God. Those who hear the call from Jesus to follow me must do the will of God. Richard Horsley explains, "Far from being anti-family or replacing the family, the principle of doing the will of God extends kinship relations to the whole community. The loyalty and mutual care of kin traditionally provides social and economic protection for individuals and families. If people in the communities of Jesus' movement understood themselves as brothers and sisters and mothers to each other, they might take care of each other with the same sense of responsibility that families traditionally exercised." So, those who sit at Jesus' feet and listen to his teachings are in God's family, and this family comes with a newfound sense of social and economic responsibility to one another. This family is not something you are born into in the traditional sense. Rather, the family of God is something you join through following Jesus. listening to his teachings, loving your neighbor, and living and embodying the way of Jesus.